All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for podcast number 71.
And
all right. Yes,
right.
As you can see, RWBY. We'll be talking a lot of RWBY here. Mm-hmm. This is the Twitch VOD for that. So yeah, enjoy, guys. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We're in for the podcast.
Indeed.
Podcast number 71.
71. That's
right?
Crazy to think that we've been doing these for that long.
It's over a year.
Yep. Over a year. Wow.
Like thinking back on like how much of that has been, you know, like, like how much of that has been our lives, you know.
Yep.
Just the last bit, and then
That's
thinking
ridiculous.
about like we started on RWBY.
We did.
We started on RWBY.
RWBY Volume 4.
Back when Volume 4 was like coming out and stuff.
It's insane.
Like, getting announced and things.
And now we're done with Volume 6, and it's on to Volume 7.
On to Volume 7.
I cannot believe that that's actually a thing.
That's ridiculous. Hey,
hello,
Dazion, Dr. Woman Respecter. Respect all the women in RWBY. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
Konnichiwa.
Oh
hey.
gosh. Yes.
Currently watching your VOD on Doki Doki. Oh boy.
Hey, wow, double dipping. There you go. So
that
how
would
many
be a bit of a tonal shift.
How many of y'all have seen the RWBY Volume 6 finale episode?
Because, like, hopefully all of you, right?
Summer! Right, Marudel?
Yep.
Because one of the things that we're going to be talking about here is the RWBY Volume 6 finale.
Yeah.
For those of you that are wondering where our Chapter 12 reaction is, though, I am very sorry. Rooster Teeth has not unblocked it. I don't know what's going on. To give you some context here, I uploaded it a while ago, and they actually didn't approve the actual dispute. Yeah, they just didn't do it. So something might have gone wrong. Maybe the wrong person looked at it and was just like, no, this doesn't go through. I went through all the procedures properly. I emailed them, and I'm just waiting on a response. So yeah. It's basically just a setup where we're whenever it happens. This actually happened to us in Volume 5, though. There was a point where we had a reaction that was just delayed for forever. And they just forgot about it.
Didn't that have something to do with the fact that, what was it? We went on a trip or something like that. So we ended up not, putting it up on the, in time with the regular, list of people that would be reacting to it.
We had actually the next week's reaction up and available on time before the one before it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was kind of annoying. But yeah. Y'all, thank you so much for being here for this podcast. This is going to be kind of fun because this is something that we are going to talk RWBY Volume 6, of course, but we're going to talk RWBY in general and also a lot about Volume 7 theories, because one of the things that I think one of the things that we kind of understood at the end of Volume 5 was not how Volume 6 was going to be, but certain things that they would have on their wall of big things to have happen and put them in there. And we didn't go back and look through all of our Volume 6 theories, but there are a couple things that did kind of end up happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Some more specific things and some more general things. Right.
Specifically with kind of the whole Ozpin thing. They went deep in Ozpin this volume. That was one of the things that we were specifically looking forward to.
It's crazy to think about, though, because that was episode 3.
Right, that was episode 3.
When they did that whole backstory episode. And it was absolutely amazing, and I loved it so much. But now, when I think about it, it's just oh yeah, right, the Ozpin backstory. That's just one of the things that happened this volume.
Right.
But it doesn't, even necessarily stand out as, my favorite part of this volume, which is ridiculous, because it was amazing.
Yeah, it's if there was, a highlight reel of your top 10 moments in Volume 6, I'm actually curious in chat, what are certain things that you would expect to be in everyone's top 10 list? Not your top 10 list, but what would be the things that you'd go, this is everyone's top 10 list of moments. I think one of the big ones happened in the previous episode was Bumblebee. That's a big thing for a lot of people. And the defeat of Adam, basically that whole fight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You said the previous episode, and I thought you were talking about the episode before episode 3. And I was like, wait.
Oh.
What?
No.
What happened with Bumblebee in episode 2?
Yeah, super backstory exposition dump with the Snow Horror Village. Yes, the whole Apathy Grim plot arc
awesome.
is a top 10.
Oh, yeah.
Is a top is a top list of RWBY series for like a premise for a mini, essentially filler arc that I would say like really that's gonna stick with us for a while.
And yeah, the Salem reveal in episode 2 was fantastic. Like, what a cliffhanger! Like, named Salem, and it's like, what?
It's like, okay.
All right.
And I have to say, I was so wrong. If you go back on Twitter, back then, there was a discussion I had with a bunch of the other RWBY YouTubers regarding whether or not Ozpin was the teacher of Salem, and that Ozpin taught her magic versus whether or not Ozpin and Salem were lovers. And there was this very specific section of the fandom that was right on the money. And they're like, they're going to be lovers, and there's going to be estranged, feelings between them that made things complicated. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I think it would be better if they were, master and apprentice. And Ozpin feels responsible for teaching someone that ends up using their power and abusing their power in that way. But then, I was completely wrong.
And all the moon theories were debunked. Yeah.
All the moon theories were debunked. All the Summer Rose's Salem theories were debunked.
Yep.
All the Ozpin is a villain theories were debunked.
Right.
It's more along
he
lines
did go villain for a while.
Well, he went into the shades of gray area there. He definitely he did the
he definitely
turned a blind eye.
Like gods. Angry gods.
Yeah, no, but I mean that's the meme, yes, but they ended up going at it in a way that was, I would say, much more consistent with his character.
Yes.
The apathy is what happens when a filler arc is actually good. Yup. Do you think Leo was the first moment did so much for humanizing Ozpin even more than most of his flashback? Despite his age, he's still just a human. Yeah. Yeah, that was a huge moment. There are a lot of lines that Ozma got, like, original, like Ozpin got, that kind of gave us an understanding of where he was at the extreme of being the lawful good guardian, basically. And that it did take the the death, if you will, to where he started to show that with each of these reincarnations, he started to deviate a little bit from his original.
Every day we stray further from God's light.
From God's light!
Which is funny
from
because
the God of Light!
That was literally what was happening, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Adam's Silver Eye theories were debunked as well. I think what RWBY did, and this is my summation of the volume, and this is something I really hope people hear with me with this, is that RWBY as a show went through a little bit of a ringer in volume 5, specifically with the last 4 or 5 episodes, where people realized that, I think maybe RWBY realized that they tried to bite off more than they could chew. And it wasn't that it was wrong for them to do this story-wise, but they realized, okay, let's go back to basics. Let's go back to basics and have a more streamlined story. We can have little side things going on along the same time, but when we choose to focus on the core cast of the characters, we double down on the main character and the characters surrounding them.
Yes.
And then when we bring in all the other characters for big climactic moments and stuff like that, we very much set piece them. We make sure we've got everything surrounding them, we've got it worked out. Because when Adam, died, for instance,
that was big.
When they had the whole, the apathy situation, when they had the fight in the finale and all that, they made sure to keep the conflict and the actual, I would say, staging of the conflict simple enough that they wouldn't, I would say, trip over themselves.
Right, and it's weird because
out really well.
Yeah, but when I think about part 5, the thing that I would mainly have issue with part 5 isn't
Volume
actually
5, right? Yeah.
Volume 5, yeah.
Sorry,
isn't actually the finale, but it's the journey to the finale.
Oh, okay.
And that basically it felt like it was depending so much on the finale.
Yeah.
Right? That when the finale came around, it wasn't able to live up to it because it had, too much expectation.
Yeah, the room was spent a lot of time in there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I loved a lot of the things that happened there. Whereas with, say, Volume 6, it was something where the journey I would have been absolutely happy if the journey was all that we got from that volume.
For sure.
Right? Because
Totally.
they made it very engaging. The apathy was an excellent example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they finally did the final battle, it was a surprise that we sort of, saw coming, but Adam was definitely a surprise. But they kept it quick.
Yeah.
Things weren't hinging all completely on the finale being amazing. It was just a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I would say in terms of scope and in terms of impact on the world, they went and took what was the best parts of RWBY Volume 4, the character development.
Yep.
Holy crap, the character development in Volume 6 for RWBY, for Crow, for Yang, for Blake. I would say that if anything, they basically took all the characters and gave them their little moments where we saw that the development that had been built upon them, say in Volume 4 and a little bit in Volume 5, mostly Volume 4, was actually relevant, and it was being built upon here.
Right.
I got to say, just mad props for how the writing seemed to be much more polished this volume.
Yes, absolutely.
There were some clever things that they did, but they didn't try to go so big in scope that it was like them trying to show off and flex on us how big this story moment was. Except for maybe episode 3, right, which if you actually, but still, if you think about it in terms of the ramifications, it was an enclosed loop.
Exactly. Yep.
There was nothing that would spill out from there.
Again, it was something that we knew had to happen at some point, but it wasn't something that the rest of the volume was depending on. They did it, and the cliffhanger for it was awesome, and we were very much anticipating the episode before, for 1 week, right? Yep. And then they did it. They capitalized on it. It was amazing, and it was done.
Yeah,
right?
and I would say a genius move was also to have Ozpin shut down.
Yes.
I think by having Ozpin leave, it's something that makes sense given the trauma of all the stuff he's given through with his character. He doesn't owe them his time, if that makes sense. Right. He has spent so much time defending this world and doing what he can. He needs a breather now. And I liked that it allowed them to get introspective and work off each other. And then we went and segued perfectly into the apathy whole section of things, which gave them a plot reason to actually have them at their lower points that when it actually seemed in character, which made it even eerier because we couldn't tell for the most part, at least, for some of the part, whether or not this was actually just their character or
and the thing is
something else.
Is again one of the things that I think was so good about the apathy. It wasn't just that it was a scary grim, because it was definitely a scary grim.
Totally.
And it wasn't just that the characters were basically brought to lower points, right? But it was the fact that they took because sometimes in shows, and I saw this a little bit in the beginning of Volume 6, the characters will basically be upset over things, right? And it'll seem to kind of come up out of nowhere a little bit, and they'll exhibit traits that I do not see as being likable, and I don't want them to stay there, right?
Yeah.
And you can do that. But one of the things that they did in Volume 6 was they made that then go straight into the apathy, and they had the whole episode 3 thing, right? So there was good reason for them to be upset.
Especially Crow.
And then they went straight into the apathy, and they basically said, okay, that seed of something that would have been very annoying if they had spent 2 episodes focusing on it without a grim influence mind affecting thing, we would have been like, come on, guys, just get it together, right? You have more important things to worry about. But the fact that they had that other aspect in there, we could basically be rooting for them to get out of it and know that they are going to get out of it because it's something that they're actively needing to overcome, and it is a real life-threatening problem. Right? It's not just, we don't like each other today.
In some ways, actually, the apathy saved them from the melodrama. Because the melodrama would have actually gone 2 episodes or 3 episodes.
Exactly. Because it's something that needs to be addressed, right?
It's something that should have. And then in actuality, it did, because when they ended up revealing this information to Team Juniper, it recycled again, as it should. But then it was focused on their team, so it made it something that makes sense. By the way, I have been missing a couple things in chat, but some people have been dropping some good comments in here. Yeah. As usual, our imagination made things more exciting than what it really is, as fans do.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. Ozpin reminds me of the Doctor. This is the one. He's been alive so long as he struggles to truly relate to and empathize with humans, but he really tries his hardest. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And Freelancer Amber, hey! Glad to have you here!
Yeah.
Awesome! Thanks for joining the stream. Just got here. What did I miss? Wooden Targets. We're talking just RWBY Volume 6, kind of recapping, talking about the highlight moments as a whole. Which actually reminds me, I need to shout out one of our VIP patrons.
Oh, that's right.
Ria C. I'm not going to say your last name just for confidentiality purposes. But thank you so much for your support. You're a recent addition to the VIP crew. Haven't had you yet on Discord, but just know if you sync up your Patreon and Discord accounts, we'd love to have you there in the VIP channel just to hang out and chat with you and stuff.
Maybe see you at the next movie watch.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much for your support. We really, really appreciate it. You mean a lot to us. So, I feel like RWBY was just like, you want answers? Here you go. It was amazing. I think that's part of it. I think this was something that, I think that's part of it. I think what it also was, Jacob and I talked about this a lot, was the idea of the wall of crazy. So, whenever you're a writer and you're building a world in addition to a plot kind of storyline and stuff as well, one of the things that you'll have is kind of this tool set of awesome things that you want to find the right time for your characters to kind of bring up into. I think you can kind of think of it a lot like as a DM or a GM in a tabletop RPG.
Yeah.
Is that you have like characters, NPCs, plot lines that could be brought up now for the story, but maybe it's not time to explore that character's backstory.
Right.
Maybe it's not time to dump too many things at once. Let's give them one thing at a time.
Or one other way that I like to look at things is the creators are fans of their own work too.
Oh, yeah.
So what are their basically headcanons, fan theories, that they basically want to work in somehow, but they need to make it actually cohesive.
Right.
Yeah.
Great point. Hey, White Cloud, finally made it to live stream. Glad to have you here.
Glad to have you here, yeah.
I like the relationship. I like the relationship that's
Mm-hmm.
developing between RWBY and Jin.
Yes.
Yes.
That whole. I don't know if I would necessarily call it a relationship per se, but their interactions are fun.
They are definitely fun. What were you going to say?
What I was going to say is that episode 3 of volume 6 is an excellent example of why showing is so much better than telling. Because if you think about it, there was a lot of world building stuff that they went over there. And they've had moments like that in volume 4 or 5, where they're like, oh, the gods and things like that. And it's like, whoa,
volume 3
okay.
even.
Yeah, exactly. But oftentimes those didn't go over super well with the audience, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, this is good information, but it's not very exciting. Episode 3, showing. That's the kind of stuff you can do. They covered a lot.
They covered a whole lot.
The amount of information that they communicated to us in episode 3 was staggering, right? Yeah. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the kind of amount that made us compare it to mini arcs, like in Legend of Korra. You had the beginnings part 1 and 2 episodes that covered basically the formation of the entire world in Avatar. Right. Which is something that
kind of big to handle.
It's kind of big stuff. And I think actually, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of people that didn't like that. There were a lot of people that didn't like the beginnings part 1 and 2 because it's the equivalent of basically explaining the mystery and demystifying everything.
And in some ways, almost retconning.
And in some ways, maybe kind of retconning. But in this, they basically said, okay, we're going to tell a personal story. There are going to be moments where Jin will exposit little bits of detail. But it's only as it's relevant to the two main characters involved in this big backstory, prequel, foundational world building episode. And they handled the gods. They handled semblances. They handled the whole idea of magic. They handled basically why the world is even called Remnant. They handled the moon. They handled, in some ways, actually the struggle of Ozpin and reminding us that he is human, because there was a very large predominant section of the fandom that in volume 5, I think specifically, people started to go, oh, Ozpin is taking over a young boy's mind and body.
Right.
And he's probably going to like we don't know if they'll coexist forever and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Ozpin, you might. It was kind of those. Are we the baddies? You know.
Right.
And now we know it's a lot more complicated than that.
Right.
And it also gave credence to the Raven line back in Volume 5 of there is no stopping Salem. You can't defeat Salem.
Right.
Which I remember kind of hearing that before and being like, well, that's melodramatic, hyperbolic.
Okay, Saruman, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Saruman. And I was just like, okay, sure. No, she's actually immortal. We covered her whole origins, her whole motivations.
Yep.
It's something kind of funny because every villain I think we've had thus far in RWBY, I think has a semblance, if you will, of Salem's motivations. They're kind of tinged a little bit with Salem's motivation. Roman, I think Roman is the exception. Roman is the exception. Yeah, Roman. You could probably extrapolate something out of Roman, but it's something where I think Roman is so far removed from Salem, he probably never even met. Like, he never even met Salem. He might not even heard her name.
Existed. Yeah.
Well, like they would see, like, the people we serve, and he'd be like, oh, yeah, those powerful people. Cool, all right.
Right,
Yeah, somehow, Cinder, you are connected to someone who's connected potentially to the Grim. Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
They're going to change the world. I can't stop them. Yeah. Which, that is another potential foreshadowing thing. But,
yeah, good point. Mesker 1, I hate how I fanboy... I hate how I fanboy over Cinder and Neo teaming up, even though I know it's an easy hype tactic that they pull. They know what they're doing. Yeah. Same here. It's like, it's low hanging fruit, but it works.
That was probably the one thing that I would say with Cinder that I wasn't really
as much of a fan of
this volume. If there was one thing that I think they kind of flubbed on, it's that because Neo is someone that I think Cinder is trying to, on some level, manipulate, she is not being actually vulnerable with Neo here. And I would have liked actually a little bit, just for Cinder's sake, because Cinder is not in the good characters list of RWBY. Like, in terms of not like good as in like likable or anything. I'm just talking like writing ability. Yeah. Like, you have Weiss like way up near the top. Like way up near the top.
Sitting on her throne.
You have like, Pyrrha, who's dead, you have like, Yang and Nora, and then maybe Blake, and then, Ruby's now actually getting up into the top list and stuff. But now Cinder could have at least had something to separate her from the whole Salem crew.
And because I totally get what you're saying, and I completely agree, because Cinder is so dang proud. Like, she's not going to be vulnerable in front of anybody.
Right.
But if she were to be vulnerable in front of someone other than RWBY in, like, a last moments or before she, is about to kill RWBY or something like that, I could see her potentially being vulnerable with Neo because Neo can't talk.
That's why I was thinking she would do it. I think she would take advantage of the fact that either, one, she thinks that Neo is a means to the end, and she'll just dispose of her when she doesn't need her anymore, because that's what Cinder kind of is.
Right.
Or it's a thing of, oh, you can't talk. Huh. You can be a soundboard for me.
Right, exactly.
And then Cinder just starts processing, and we see this new side of her. But, again, they streamlined the story. They kept things very simple. And I think that with RWBY as a show, there's a lot of times where I think we as the fandom want the concept to be bigger than the actual execution can deliver on.
Because by doing one thing, you take away from other things. It's just how it works, because, screen time exists.
Yep.
Now, how many volumes do you think they're going to spend in Atlas?
1 minimum.
Same here.
Yeah. I can't tell if they're going to do 2 or not, because there's the whole thing of Salem now.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. I want them to spend 2 volumes in Atlas. Maybe 3.
Oh my
or like
God.
2.5. I don't know.
Jacob is irrationally got a hard-on for Atlas.
Well, see, here's the thing. Atlas has been out of the story for a long time, but the fact that they have so many potential plot lines going on, because the thing is, like, okay, when I think about like Volume 4 and Volume 5 and how the party was basically split up a lot of the time, it caused everything to slow down because they didn't really have things that they were supposed to be doing during that time. It's just we need to get to a place, right?
Yeah.
But here, there's so many different groups, so many parties at play, all with their own motivations and tactics and things that they're going to be doing. It seems like they could have it last for a long time and still have it be dense all the way through.
Right.
Like, they really could. Like, if there were to be any place that could become a secondary beacon, I think it would be Atlas.
Sure.
They won't necessarily do that because of how the story's been set up so far, but they could. And yeah, that's just the kind of thing that I like to hope for.
Yeah, that is a good point, Mesco. When episode 3 did both tell and show, there was a heavy narration over what was happening. I'd say more telling than showing from memory.
Oh, really?
So you see, here's the thing where I would say that the telling is very predominant. Yes, the thing what it was is that Jin is telling us, but she is not she's not the only voice, and oftentimes the way at which they tell is through when the showing is moving extremely fast.
Right. It's
Basically,
covering like large swaths of time or something.
It's covering large swaths of time. It's not like when Salem goes and actually meets the gods, Jin shuts up and we actually now are listening to the conversation as it happened. But when Salem is going around wooing the kingdoms, trying to make them join her on their quest to gain immortality from the gods, of course Jin's going to talk about that because they're not going to spend all that time.
They're still doing it in one episode, right?
Yes.
But the thing is that while there was telling, it was still showing alongside the telling. It wasn't just like fade to black, and then have exposition or sit
Crow sitting at a campfire.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's a very important distinction because just the idea of saying like, okay, Salem went around and convinced the other kingdoms to rebel against the gods using the fact that she was immortal. Versus hearing basically the same thing and watching her go up, take out an axe,
and hit herself with the axe to where she would die from a mortal wound.
Exactly. It's like that.
And then continue talking.
Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So, it helps.
It definitely helps. Okay, someone who was confused about the DM-GM stuff. Yeah, Soulsack. Hey, long time no see on you live on stream. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you here. What is DM or GM? So I'm talking about in like a tabletop RPG setting, there is someone who is the storyteller, the dungeon master or the game master.
Right.
And they are leading or guiding a number of players through the story as they tell it. But the thing is that they're aware of certain things within the story that the players are not, and they're choosing at what point to bring in certain plot elements or characters to interact with the players. And I think that RWBY, the writers specifically, have a number of plot devices and elements and characters that they're holding in their arsenals when they're ready to use them as it makes sense to introduce them into the story.
Right.
And the whole thing with Jin and the whole backstory and stuff was, I think they were saying, okay, we got to have certain elements just right. We now have them have the relic. Okay, let's not waste time and have them not use the relic for a while.
Let's have it just be
have it be right at the beginning.
Like what they kind of we hoped they would have done with the Silver Eyes,
Yes.
New MacGuffin is introduced. All right, cool. Let's make sure that we explore this and figure it out and do something with it quickly.
Yes, and that's what I'm kind of referring to here.
Honestly, I hoped for more stuff for this volume, like General Ironwood or Winter.
Well, that's volume 7.
I totally agree, but volume 7, I think
it's
gonna be good.
I think expecting Ironwood or Winter this volume was.
They could have done it in Argus, but it would have made things complicated.
Well, no, I actually think it would have simplified the story down to where they wouldn't have had a proper ending point. It made sense.
Sure.
It made sense that Ironwood wasn't there.
Right.
Winter could have been there, but that would have been plot convenience, I think, in my point here. But also specifically with Winter and stuff, we had specifically been told that Winter, back in Volume 5, was no longer on Anima. Winter left.
Right.
Raven's people somehow knew that. I don't remember how. I don't think they ever explained how they knew that. But the point was that she left. That all Atlas people had been recalled to Atlas territory. Now, Argus still counts in that regard. But I would say you'd probably want your best of your best people at main base. This is basically Atlas doing the consolidation RTS technique, where you bring all of your forces under one hotkey instead of under 7 hotkeys.
Exactly, yeah. Macro management, yeah.
Yeah, macro management being brought down to a much more containable and easily accessible medium.
Wait, Jin is like a stand that stops time,
Oh yeah, if you've watched our reaction already on Early Access, by the way, Patreon plug, you definitely might get a little bit of a Zawado reference from me when that happened.
Because I mean that was just fantastic that they put that in there.
You're totally right about that, and I think they addressed it in the show when she gave her speech, a lot of things that drive them: justice, love, and devotion. Each villain has a single aspect of what drives or drove Salem to what she is. Yes, totally. And I would say you could even take characters like Adam and say there's an aspect of Adam's character that is actually in Salem's motivations as well. That's, I'd say, how multidimensional Salem's motivations are post episode 3 of volume 6.
And the fact that those 3 words were used, because when I think about it, it'd be pretty easy for me to imagine any of the people present in that place other than maybe Mercury.
Well, she was specifically talking about her three.
Yeah.
Not Mercury number.
But among her 3, Hazel, Tyrion, and Watts, I could see all of those applying to all of them. Right.
The one we know the least about, Watts, it could be any of those 3.
Right.
I went back and checked because someone was commenting or talking about this, saying that Salem was gesturing to each one individually as she said each word, and that's not actually the case. If you go back and look, she's saying it and she's not even tilting her head. If anything, if I remember correctly, she has her hands either together like this, or she has her hands out,
and sort of like this,
in kind of a general everyone kind of thing. Now, I totally could see how you could put each one to specific ones, and there are probably great arguments for that. But what I think is great is that she's saying also that, like you said, all of them could work for all of them, if that makes sense.
I found the Wicked Witch of the West reference in the end credit scene kind of hilarious and interesting. Oh yeah, that's gonna be
that was something we talked about as well.
Oh boy,
that was oof. Okay. Yeah, Cinder is not even early Zuko level. At least there were hints on his end, not just evil smiles and stuff over the years. Cinder has a long way to go before he be even close to that. We just wanted that kind of a Zuko alone plot device to force character development for Cinder, and they didn't really do it.
They didn't.
They didn't.
Yeah, but the fact that Neo's there, maybe that'll be a reason to spend more screen time with Cinder.
Yeah. I only need the Grim now going, oh, Rio. Oh, Rio. Oh my gosh, yes. I think we're going to get 3 volumes in Atlas at least. Each kingdom has had 3 volumes devoted to it, and Atlas has the option to be much more concentrated in a smaller area compared to the wider Mistral arc. Okay, then that's a good point. I would say that the reason why I have some reservations about that.
Yeah.
Is that if you look back at the length of time spent in volumes 1, 2, and 3, in terms of actual footage,
sure,
it's about equal to 1.2 of volume 6 or volume 5, if you will.
Or really?
It's an exceptionally smaller amount of time.
Right. So 3 volumes, I would be surprised pleasantly, assuming they did it well.
2 seems reasonable.
2 seems reasonable.
Yeah,
2 seems very reasonable. I would be happy if they did 3, but that's more of me being maybe it could happen.
Jacob and I have our list of crazy things that we feel like they have to do in an Atlas arc, but the thing is that these are the kinds of things that you do, and then once they're done,
it's like, how can you do more than that?
Yeah, we are leaving Atlas after that, which I think makes Salem's impending I will do this myself kind of thing once the Atlas arc is once we're almost done with it, we're gonna be done with it, because Atlas will either be destroyed, which is pretty awesome,
because there's so much potential with Atlas as just a location in the world. I don't think any other place really got built up nearly as much.
No, because Ironwood's been around since the beginning of Volume 2, and his mechs have been a visual storytelling representation of what Atlas is like. And now that we've actually seen Atlas, the amount of futuristic aspects of the floating city and stuff is just, oh my gosh. By the way, spoilers for the Volume 6 finale. If you haven't seen that yet, you please watch it, by the way. Thank you for noticing me, senpai. Arigato. Oh my gosh, yeah, no problem.
Pillarman theme intensifies.
One thing to remember is that I think all of the fables that Pyrrha mentioned to Ozpin have been told. Well, maybe the only one missing is the shallow sea. Yes, the shallow sea is something that I think people have tried to attribute to certain things, but there's nothing as terms of a character mythic archetype that correlates specifically to the shallow sea.
They mentioned shallows when the Leviathan came up, so maybe there's something about that.
Yeah. A good analysis of a GM. The fun thing of an RPG is that your players also influence the pace of the story and can shape the characters in the way that a certain duo's relationship evolved to chemistry between the actors and fandom influence.
Yes.
I mean, possibly. Yeah. I know this has been argued to death, but I firmly believe that Adam's influence on the story is not done. I know a lot of people believe that Adam is over with, but I think he is coming back in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so let's look at that. Let's go along with that. What would be the best way, in our opinion, that Adam could have influence in the story beyond death? Because we're going to assume that he's dead.
Right. So here's how it would be. Is that, like it or not, even though Adam will be forgotten, he still had a big impact on Blake. Right? And while she is past that, right, he has no control over her.
Right.
I could very much see his just the fact that he existed being something that is
I know how it'll be.
It can still be felt.
Yes, but let's go past trauma things. Let's actually look at positive. Here's something that is really interesting.
I was meaning in the positive.
Okay.
That as horrible as Adam was, he forced Blake to grow.
Yes. Okay, but I'm thinking about like the whole Faunus White Fang thing. A lot of people were disappointed with how the Faunus kind of storyline just kept kind of getting, I'd say, pushed to the side or just not handled as well as it could have been. But what if they actually make it a thing of where Adam's militancy, like Adam's thing there, is basically a perfect picture of where we don't want to end up again?
Yes.
So when things get dicey, and as we move towards the end of the story, and as maybe Salem's efforts work and she starts to divide them even more, people will basically be able to look towards anyone that's trying to rally quick and gather power, something like this, and we know, we have heard that jargon before, and Blake
we know where that can lead.
Yes, and Blake can be a leader in this regard because she can basically she can apply the lessons she's learned by watching where Adam failed and working in a positive way and driving in a direction that's good. The thing about that, though, is that they did disconnect Blake from her obligations to the Faunus rights movement, with having Ilya and Blake's parents being kind of the leaders of that now, which I would say, again, is an example of streamlining the story,
keeping it simple,
keep the story like simple, but also to really hit the execution on what's important. That's the main characters. That's the characters,
and they can bring them back and stuff, and it'll be great.
Yes,
but we don't need to have them present the entire way.
Yeah, you were meaning scenes from
gotcha.
Atlas. Yes, I think that is something that would have been extraneous, but it could have been fun. But it would have been ultimately extraneous.
That'll just build up to it even more when we see them do their awesome entrance wherever it is.
Oh, am I crazy, or was the finale really weak? No, I think you could say that there have been better finales in RWBY, but I would say that I would say that the reason why the finale was strong was because there wasn't anything where they just dropped the ball. Like there were no really weak points. It was just that there wasn't any extremely high highs. I mean, but did you watch the part with RWBY having her moment of thinking back to all the that? If that's not a high, I don't know what is.
There have been higher highs. There
have been some, but
this was really good. If anything, I would say the reason why I feel like you might be saying this is because Cordovan just wasn't compelling, right?
Yeah, Cordovan is a risk that they took,
right? That I would say didn't pay off in the episodes leading up to the finale, but in the finale, what we got of her was good. Like it was showing the power of that, smaller, more honest soul, right?
RWBY's words in the second to last episode and this episode her Takano Jitsu
were
were very effective. It took a while to settle in, you know, a few rounds of combat later, you know, stuff like
exactly,
that.
right.
But it worked. And it was not just RWBY's first thing. It was the combination of what she said in this volume, basically like talking over the Atlas channel and stuff, that I'm a huntress. This is what I'm supposed to do.
And just in case we were like, okay, you know, in case we weren't on board with Cordovan making the switch, then they had her do a Giga Drill break to defeat the Leviathan. And it's like, okay, all right.
Yes. Oh, so do you think Weiss will meet someone else with a brand like Adam had?
I don't think so.
I don't think she has to, but here's something that they could go into, is that Atlas will all be about secrets. I think that's going to be a huge portion of it. Watts is coming in with a secret that he's not on their side. Like, he's obviously going to have some influence in the way Atlas does things, because he developed the virus that hacked all the programs and stuff. And like, Jacob and I have been waiting for the army of pennies to be assembled. Like, we've been waiting for that.
A full dollar.
Yep. If anything, like, Jacob and I we should probably like put up like a poll with the fandom to see like, how likely do you think it is that we will see the army of penny 2.0?
Ironwood with his silver dollar.
I mean, seriously.
Yep.
But I think that if we have something like that, where it's the darker side of the Schnee Dust Company, and that they do employ faunist slave labor of some nature, or it's the equivalent of faunist sweatshops, you know, some kind of like gross living conditions, like no pay really, and then
acts of violence that maybe aren't looked into quite as much.
Exactly.
You know? And that's where Adam came from.
Yeah. I think that would perfectly make sense. And that is a way, hey, for the person that said that Adam's, you know, thing would be felt, that is a way that would naturally flow into explaining this is another thing of why Adam was the way he was.
He's basically like a reverse martyr, where it's like, oh yeah, that's right, it can get that bad. You know?
And he definitely lost his way, to quote, to reference another show. But it wasn't just a big thing that like suddenly changed him, as Blake said, and I think actually they mentioned a little bit in the end credits song. It was a very like, you know, he started off just a half degree off or something, and just over time just went askew. But
although the brand certainly didn't hurt.
The brand did.
I mean, it probably did hurt, but
totally. Malkuth Soldier with the 100 bits. Thank you so much. I really like that she had to use Jin, because that shows that RWBY can't on command Silver Eyes, and Cinder will use taunts to break her concentration.
Sure.
That's a good point. We haven't even thought about the Cinder confrontation being something where RWBY Silver Eyes could actually kill Cinder.
Well, yeah, that too.
Because this is something we've been
how much has the Grim taken over Cinder, in which case how vulnerable is she to Silver Eyes and everything, and
because I've been trying to draw the connection over and over again with the bug Grim that portaled out of her glove being actually something that's a parasite that's in her internal spot.
And I mean, at this point, I'd say that's confirmed canon.
Right. Yeah. And that's a thing that kind of would have to be that way in order for Cinder to actually be hurt by the Silver Eyes. Because people went into these
weird... a maiden.
Because people went into these weird theories where it was like, well, the Maidens are magic, and magic came from the God of Darkness, and the God of Darkness is, you know, anti the God of Light. So that means that Silver Eyes, you know, would hurt things that are magical beings. And I'm like, it's not a huge stretch.
It's not a huge stretch, but it's way simpler to just be like, she's turning into a Grim.
Yeah. Because of Salem's, you know, giving her power and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just so hoping that Adam comes back as a zombie Grim, just to mess stuff up. What is it with this fandom and wanting zombified Grim people that have died? We did it with Pyrrha. People did it with true. Like...
I mean, hey, we have the Geist Grim. It could decide to like possess Adam and pick up his sword and stuff, but
all him and his broken back and all that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He could be all like, like hunched over and stuff. That would be horrible. What are your thoughts on Cinder meeting up with Salem and company again? Will she side with them again, or will she consider them enemies now? Also, Salem doing stuff herself, Wicked Witch, Atlas of Floating City, drop Atlas on Salem. I mean, that's a cool picture. It's a cool image.
That would be hilarious if Ironwood was like, actually, this has been
this is one giant entire trap.
Time. He's like, haha, you thought wrong.
Oh, that would okay. This is not going to happen. I think this theory is dumb. I think this theory is hilariously dumb. But let's actually run with it. That creates a very like good and evil RPG decision where you have to sacrifice Mantle, because Mantle, the Kingdom of Mantle, is underneath Atlas. Like that's
no. I think there's just a big like excavated thing there.
I think you're right, Jacob. But I think they've then built underneath that because it's easier to protect them. If they're underneath this massive city, I don't think they would be directly underneath them. But even if they're not directly underneath them,
heavy thing falls, gravity force. Yeah,
yeah. It would potentially kill a lot of people.
Oh yeah, right.
And in order for the trap to work, they would
need to like lure them in.
Need to lure them in.
Crazy, yeah. But if it is something where Ironwood's like, Keikaku Dori, you've fallen right into my trap. Who cares if you're immortal?
That's another problem though. If they go into Atlas and stuff and have the arc be about, I would say more or less the intrigue and kind of the dealing with, people working against them in the dark and the Schnee Dust Company and all that.
Cloak and
Dagger and stuff, yeah. But if Atlas is meant to be self-sustainable at this point, and they're basically just, okay, we're doing the RTS strategy where we hunker in and turtle up, and just we wait for them to come to us. Our defenses are impregnable. It's like there's no such thing as impregnable defenses. One, but I mean, Sun Tzu did say it is stupid to attack a walled city. So there's a little bit of a give and take here. But Atlas still needs resources in order to sustain its population.
Well, and I love that they brought up in Volume 4 the whole aspect of the embargo really causing problems for the Schnee Dust Company, because it's like, oh, so, okay, now there's no, like, commerce coming in to Atlas, thanks to this mega corporation that supplies dust to, like, the entire world,
Yeah, they could go into some really complex economic, political...
Let's spice and wolf this right up.
Yeah, let's spice and wolf this right up.
Okay, so if the price of dust is, this for gravity dust and this for fire dust...
Yeah, they're not going to go into that. That's... Every one of like RWBY has a certain opinion on the Star Wars prequels. They're like, probably not gonna go into that whole side of things. Oh my gosh. It would be best for Atlas. The floating city is a very clear class split. The Academy, the Schnee Manor, the government buildings are all higher up, and the slums and dust mines are all below. Always has been the worst in terms of fairness, equality, and general class divide. Having them on the same level, combined with Weiss wanting to rewrite her family's same legacy and possibly the city to fall, would be a great concept.
Oh yeah,
I think having the city to fall would be kind of a dramatic emphasis on that. But having the city just come down, like that and stay down, that would also be a huge part of it as well. But yeah. Yeah, great.
There's definitely a certain they could get creative with the songs during that part.
Indomitable is amazing, but Nevermore, the credit song, is so amazing sounding.
Okay.
Wait. What are you talking about? So since they aren't reading our comments, where the hell are they getting their comments from? Well, we have a Discord. We have a
yes, that too, but also. I mean, we do on stream.
Yeah, we do on stream too.
Yeah.
I think my feelings towards the finale come from my slowly fading passion for RWBY, but obviously that's on me. Well, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. I think RWBY has gone on for a long time, and in order to actually sustain the passion for anything that goes on for a while, there has to be something. There has to be something, I'd say, a little bit fresh coming in every time. Otherwise, you'll
with the new RWBY songs that come out, right? They'll be amazing, but it still doesn't end up having quite the same effect on me as this will be the day,
Right, because that was the first one. There's a lot of nostalgia built up around it.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'm gonna kind of catch up with the comments and stuff here. Can I ask what is the game show development thing on Patreon means, and have you started? Well, it's actually a game or show development, and the game development has started. Yes. And we've talked about that a little bit.
But the long story short of why it like isn't out is, one, it's the Patreon was for starting it, and two, we did not expect the Patreon to explode as much as it did.
No, not even quickly. Close. Not even close. Let's remember that Zuko had his uncle to pick up the pieces and carry him through right the path, but Adam didn't have anyone like that, and probably the main reason he was irredeemable. Yeah, I wouldn't even compare Adam to Zuko, but yes,
I thought you were going to make the comparison of Cinder. You know,
right, but still, Adam definitely. Definitely needed someone else to be by him, stuff like that, to help him with that. Ryder Ibon, thank you so much for the follow. Glad to have you here. A thought just occurred to me. If Weiss was somehow able to kill every Grimm in Remnant, would you consider her a non-evil version of Salem? Because she could summon and control them just like Salem.
Well, we don't know if there's some sort of limitation with her summoning of, like, if it uses her aura or, juju, magic juice, however you want to call it. But that would be awesome. I would love to. I mean, the fact that she has a flying Grimm now was used rather effectively in the finale.
Yes. I would say that she would probably be able to bring out one Grimm at a time for an X amount of time.
Imagine if if it's like, wait, hold on a second. No, Cordovan. Let me take that. She cuts off the drill and she's like, Cordovan's like, why would you do this? You'll thank me later. And then she just summons the Leviathan, and she's like, cool, this can carry us to Atlas.
She summons the Leviathan. She would have to be the one to destroy it, I think.
Right. But she can if she can destroy it with her sword, she could destroy it with a massive drill. So
I don't know, man. That would be hilarious, though. Here's hoping we would get Mirror Part 88 in Volume 7. There's so many mirror iterations, but honestly, the storytelling in the mirror songs is really good, though. I think that's part of the thing I love about RWBY is that they'll try to pepper the storytelling throughout everything, and it sometimes makes the story less easy to follow. I would say they had a lot of the problems with that leading up to volumes like this one, but I think this was one of the first volumes where they actually had all the storytelling in one place.
That's just great point.
That's just a
well, no, I mean there was the train in the village with the apathy and stuff.
I'm talking about one place in terms of a medium of production.
Oh, gotcha.
In the past, they've had things where they've had actual AMAs explain things that people were confused about in the show.
Sure, or they've had
World of Remnants. Yeah, they've had all these other things, or they've relied really heavily on maybe a song or something to communicate some aspect of a story.
Okay, gotcha.
And this one, I don't feel like any of the songs were so overtly important to the story that you had to actually know the lyrics in order to get the most out of the story from it there.
Yeah, because in a lot of ways, the reason that we were looking forward to summer so much was because of Red Like Roses Part 2.
Yeah.
Red Like Roses Part 2 is, I mean, it's an amazing song. It's an amazing if you think about the stuff that's in the show as far as building up RWBY and her relationship with her mom, we have the part where she's talking at the grave at the beginning of Volume 3 and then the beginning of the Red trailer.
Right.
But not too much other than that. Usually just Yang talking about it. But
totally. Yeah. If the city falls, it reminds me of Final Fantasy VII where they dropped that plat on the Sector 7. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
The Leviathan is a grimmified version of Aang's water spirit in Season 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender, which would mean that if Weiss had defeated it and summoned it, it would basically be the exact same thing.
That would be amazing. I would be very happy to have some kind of huge thing that Weiss can then summon that is, a Titan level Grimm, some kind. Although I do think that would be something where, in terms of writing things, they're probably on a very simple note, just make Weiss OP, but not busted.
Right. It's she's already
Weiss is kind of the strongest person in Team RWBY right now.
MVP all the way.
Outside of those
conditional situations where, say, RWBY can use her Silver Eyes or something. Yeah.
Silver Eyes moments, yeah. What if Cinder's Grimside starts to consume and take over her? Well, I think it's literally just not doing it because Salem doesn't need it to yet.
Right.
I think that Salem is basically banking on, okay, cool, I can control the Grimm. I'm going to put Salem, I'm going to put Cinder into a position where she can autonomously gather followers and power for me. And then when I don't need her anymore, I'll activate the Grimm thing and basically either hold it as a threat over her, where if you don't do what I say, I will have it kill you.
Right.
Or have it basically be a thing where the Grimm itself will become this maiden-wielding, mini humanized Grimm, which now, I think that is a very real end of RWBY potential theory there.
One of the things that I would love to see, though, and this is unlikely, but it could happen if they spent more time in Atlas, because then they could actually afford to spend time on Cinder a bit.
Sure.
Is that it's already taking over her. And she's aware of it.
Yeah.
And that could basically drive her to do things that she would maybe otherwise not be quite so willing to do. And maybe that's why she's splitting from Salem and all that stuff. And if she and that could be one of the things where Neo being here is actually very important, because then it could kind of force her to need to be vulnerable, because there's only one other person here that can kind of help her, you know? And that could be amazing. But, you know, probably not going to do that, because that would take time.
Right. I'm becoming a fan of the idea of Cinder becoming more and more cocky and eventually attempting to double-cross Salem, who at that point takes control of the Grimm inside of her and uses her as a puppet, because how could you have Cinder as a henchman and not expect a sudden but inevitable betrayal?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Cinder is, I think, smart enough just now to realize that she probably should try to gather another Maiden's power before doing that.
Right.
And that's another thing that just is a plot point sitting out there. There are 2 more Maidens unaccounted for. Probably one of them is in Atlas. I'm just gonna go out on the limb there and say that if RWBY wanted to simplify things even more, put one in Vacuo and one in Atlas, where the last 2 relics of non-related to ones that we brought up so far are.
Because I would not be surprised at all, since Ironwood knows about the Maidens, if he's like, what? No, there's a classified area where the Maiden is basically living out her life in isolation.
Oh,
and, you know,
you think that's how it is?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because Ironwood would absolutely want to do something like that.
Well, I feel like Ironwood would focus more on actually integrating her into Atlas military.
Sure. Okay. That would be awesome. And if somehow it was like Winter, you know, is probably not.
Well, but I mean, the other thing is, if you go with the isolation theory, is it fits with the whole thing of why was Penny originally designed? Why do you think Why do you think Penny was designed to be a host for the Maiden powers at some point? As a young girl, that could have a body that would never die.
And then when there was a problem with that Maiden, like let's say she was going to die or something like that, then
it would force a transfer to another robot.
Exactly.
Carry it on ad infinitum. We've been waiting for that to come about. That's another dark secret that, you know, they could totally bring up.
Then
in
Atlas just has one of the Maidens forever.
And eventually they could try and do it where they're like, let's convince Ozpin. Let's convince Ozpin to just have the same 4 Maidens. Wouldn't it be helpful, Ozpin, to just have 4 immortal Maidens with you?
Yep.
And I think Ozpin maybe, if coerced enough, might have eventually gone along with that theory. And I think that's probably why he was not told probably about Penny at that moment. Like, because Ozpin didn't know. Ozpin didn't know about Penny being a robot and stuff like that.
Ozpin, the girl, I can explain,
Yeah, exactly. But I think what he was going to do is, once he had the whole understanding of the mechanics down, he was going to be like, Ozpin, I have an idea. And it's genius. I've thought about it. I've covered all the bases. You don't have to worry about anything. And then he'd be like, you can have all the Maidens eventually become basically immortal and be with you forever, and they'll be on our side. And Ozpin,
you could theoretically be you're already immortal, but you could theoretically just transfer into one of these 2, maybe.
And I don't think Ozpin would have done that.
Oh no, he wouldn't have done that. But the idea is that, hey, that's an option.
Yeah, because Ozpin doesn't need the
that's true.
robot immortal body.
Yeah,
but again, other things that are really good potentially to read through in Watts. In before the main 4 girls are Maidens, RWBY being the super secret Maiden. No.
Yeah, it's like that was something, as soon as they brought up the Maidens in the 4 seasons and everything, we're like, oh, okay.
No, I think that was a thematic thing with just how they like the number 4 and 4 girls essentially saving the world.
Also corresponding to different seasons,
Yeah, and I would say that they could become Maidens at some point in the future, maybe.
Wait, okay.
But it's not important that they do that, I think.
Okay.
Oh, you're tapping into the beyond. What is it?
Gurren Lagann. it resolved things with a mech inside of a mech inside of a mech inside of a mech. Now, how many mechs inside of mechs how many layers of mechs were there?
Infinite. So many.
It was 4.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
4.
And they had very different color dynamics to them. Okay. Okay. All right.
Maybe that's just a coincidence. I have no idea how they would incorporate that into some sort of defeating Salem or the gods or whatever. But
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yep. I think there's possible stuff there, yeah.
They did a Giga Drill break this last episode.
They
so
did.
Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
What do you two think about Oz in terms of trust? Do you think he is truly legit in his goal, or do you think he's more like the actual wizard in the story of Oz, who was a trickster and used several props and tricks into making everyone a false narrative?
Well, see, the thing is that I think it can be both.
Well, yeah, I think it can be both, but also I think that you're maybe still holding on a little bit to the Oz is not a good guy kind of theory.
Yeah,
no,
and
Ozpin was Ozma, and he still has probably some memory of that. The problem I think with Ozpin is that he's tired.
Right.
I don't think that he's devious in the standpoint of that he's conniving and scheming and manipulating. I think he's actually just overwhelmed with all of this.
Right.
And if anything, he wants to delegate.
Yeah, I think if anything, the best way that you can see that he is not like vindictive, or something like that, is the opening narration, the conversation between him and Salem.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him to have any facade at that point, because he doesn't have to manipulate anyone. Yep. One, he's talking to his enemy, and the conversation might not have actually happened, right? It's just them sort of thinking about how they would be talking to each other. So there's no reason for him to be deceptive there. And there he's just saying, I think that we need to, put our trust in things that you've long since forgotten about.
There's the meta-analysis, though, of that because that was told in the beginning of the story, they can't hint at negative things with regards to Ozpin that early on. So
sure, but it also means that they can't backpedal that, because that's basically a crux that they're staking everything.
Yeah, that's the entire conflict of the story right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, Yo-Yo Man with the tier 1 resubscription. This is your 4th month. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Path of Isolation. The 5th secret super maiden. Oh my gosh.
A 5th maiden.
I'd have put Weiss as the strongest member, but after this volume and Yang essentially taking Adam out herself, she's probably sitting in the top seat. I would say Yang is sitting in the 1v1 potential seat,
right,
very high up there. But the problem with that is that I'm talking about in a group comp.
Right. Who would you most want to have in your group?
Yes.
Weiss or Yang?
Weiss.
Yang is awesome, but Weiss hands down.
But Weiss is the utility goddess.
Right. Like
absolute
Yang is
goddess.
The barbarian. Barbarians definitely
deal
have
the
their
most
uses,
damage,
and they deal the most damage,
and they can take the most damage.
There's fighters and all that stuff, but
in this group comp,
right? In this group comp, Yang deals the most damage, but those wizards and their utility, boy,
oh my god,
boy.
Yes. Yeah, she's like multi-classed into a bunch of little things already. RWBY has like a plus 1,000 damage against this specific type of enemy.
Yeah. She's the war cleric, So
So
against undead, her turn undead
she even
is
has
very
a little
useful.
cross somewhere on her design and stuff with the really obscure like anti-monster weapon too.
Right.
Yeah. If anything, I think that they all fit into some level of a classic kind of tabletop RPG archetype, or kind of a group comp setup there, that you definitely would want the OP spellcaster with near infinite scaling than you would a barbarian.
She can even literally like add things to her spell book.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
I just joined and Yang is Grog, I guess.
Right. Let's give RWBY Silver Eyes and the 4 Maidens power. Lycan Dark power. Yeah, this shouldn't be too busted. Yeah, I don't think that they will. I wasn't saying that. I was just saying that they could do that. Yeah. And it would eventually be a thing where they might have to do that.
Although, one thing I will say, though, is if you wanted the maiden powers to go to each of the 4 girls, if Winter was a maiden, secretly this whole time somehow, then it would make sense that it would pass to Weiss.
Yeah.
Raven is a maiden, and it would definitely make sense that if something were to happen to her, it would pass on to Yang.
Yeah.
Summer if she was a maiden, I don't know how that would work and all that stuff. Maybe Ruby's a maiden, she doesn't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Probably not. But the thing is, that's connection points to 3 of the characters, you know, with 2 of those characters having names that are literally the season, you know,
Sure.
like a season. So,
I think there was thoughts at one point that Summer was a maiden and had the silver eyes, and that was why she was sent to take out Salem.
because it's like, if anyone can, it's you.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work.
Which
So
would suck.
I think on some level I think that that's possible, but I would not want that if that meant that Ruby would be some secret maiden or something. So let's not go there.
There are the million memes of level 5 wizard versus level 5 barbarian getting crushed, and then level 20 wizard versus literally anything. Yep.
Yep, exactly. Oh, Berserk manga streams are tomorrow, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah. Be there.
Same time as always.
Yeah. Be there every week. That's when Berserk happens.
Yep.
Would
can all get
technically be a sorcerer,
together.
Considering her power is hereditary?
If you want to get detailed about it, I suppose.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
High level magic user. That's the point.
Exactly.
Guys, calling it now for Volume 7. Robot Limb versus Robot Limb. Yang versus Tyrion. Hey, I'm all for that.
All for that.
She's gonna grab his tail with her robot hand.
You
swing it around, and she's gonna like Mob Psycho with like Dimple. Like she's gonna bop, just like slam him. Like
not gonna happen, but that would be amazing.
That would be amazing. That's
or
what I would.
Robot
want.
Limb versus Robot Limb. Yang and Ironwood getting an arm wrestling contest.
Oh my gosh. Harva Lent. I know a show called RWBY exists, but I never watched it before. What kind of show is it? Maybe I'll try to watch it later. It's an animated project that started off as a passion project by a small group of people.
Yep.
That has grown because of its popularity to be something that's way bigger than that. So it's a journey story for some cool characters with cool fight scenes and great music that, you know, you shouldn't go in with overtly high expectations, but if the charm of it kind of hits you and stuff, you're gonna have a lot of fun over the course of the whole thing there.
Yeah, and it just might surprise you.
It just might surprise you. Check out the first volume. It's 90 minutes long.
The soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah. It's on Rooster Teeth's YouTube channel and also their website, roosterteeth.com. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah. Also, the choreography for the fights is quite good.
I mean, RWBY does not go for the next level subversion that Hunter x Hunter has. Almost every time it turns out that the simple explanation fits. It's more straightforward than fan theories have made it out to be, so let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah. That's why fan theorying and stuff is fun, but it's mostly fun just because you kind of feel good coming up with these things because it makes you feel like you're kind of writing the story, but you're not. And the problem is when we make fan theories on top of fan theories. But making fan theories in and of itself is fine.
It's fun. It's fun. Fan theories on top of fan theories.
But I think that's I talk about this a little bit in the discussion of the early access timer reaction for the RWBY Volume 6 finale. It's in our Patreon. But the thing with Adam, a lot of people were upset with the way he was handled this volume. And I don't understand that.
Like, well, and we talk about this.
No, we understand, but we can't really vibe with that because Adam's character, we feel like, was introduced in Volume 3, Chapter 11, and that's who he is. That's who he is.
Right.
At least for now, and he's not going to change from that. But by getting into theory crafting, that I think this is maybe a part of it, fans blew up in their mind who Adam was based on his design, based on the connection to the faunus,
based on the way Blake talked about him.
Well, based on the way I would say Blake actually very rarely actually talked directly about Adam.
Yeah, so when she did mention him, then they had to latch on to all the little things,
I think what it more was that they assumed that based on the fact that Blake and Adam had been in a relationship, that there were specific things that they were just assumed to be true about Adam. Gotcha. And made the fandom go into high potential area, and we're like, well, this character has to stick around for this amount of time in order to have that potential capitulated on. Although it wasn't really
it wasn't absolutely clear that they were in a relationship, though.
Yeah,
it's like anyone can put 2 and 2 together, but that's why his first line being, "Hello, my darling." You know, that was
the confirmation.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So totally.
Mhm.
I just think that's hashtag ad.
Oh,
Yes.
speaking of hashtag ad, Battle Lines, my sci-fi book.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Kickstarter is up. Pre-orders, get it. Autographed copies are available for a limited time only. Just a few more days.
Yang SSGS. Just getting here. What did you guys think of the finale? I hear a lot of bashing. I personally love it and love where it came from. Season 1 till now, it's made a huge improvement.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to know what the specific bashings are about, because one of the things that I really liked about this volume was it was a tight story with no really big loose ends, and the only big loose end really was killed off. So
Right.
yeah.
I absolutely get the bashing for this episode and this volume, because there was a lot of bashing and it was amazing. And I'm talking about fights.
Yeah, in the last couple episodes. But I don't know. I don't really see anything.
How did you know about page 156, Lariat?
Oh my gosh. Some people think they have been betrayed when storyline doesn't go the way they expected.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I can be that way sometimes too.
Yeah, but that's when they're just not actually I would say, okay, here's the thing. There's perception, interpretation, and reality.
And even reality is hazy.
Well, no, but only one of these things is true, and the same thing that is true is the thing that you cannot actually perceive perfectly.
Right.
Because you have to filter things through your perception.
And
when we acknowledge that we only have our perceptions and our interpretations of those perceptions to go on, it, I'd say, should make us have a little bit more humility. Not humility. I mean, humility is part of it, but I would
just
say
realization that, holding it
self-awareness.
with an open hand.
Self-awareness.
And the thing is, I would say that is in a best case scenario where you have a creator that is able to properly convey the reality that they're wanting to convey, so that their perspective, because that's a whole other can of worms, doesn't basically muddy it, right?
Right. Well, that's the thing. We're never assuming that we can judge the perspective of the creators or the intent of them behind specific scenes.
Yeah.
It's part of the time where we actually get into the analysis of things by probing, and we're like, wait, do you think the intent of the creator with this scene was to do something like this? And we'll go like, possibly. Do we find any evidence to support that? Oh, maybe it would go with this thing here.
And when things are written better, then it's easier to follow the tracks, in the trail and sniff out where it's going.
Yeah, especially in hindsight.
Yes.
Especially in hindsight. And that's something where I feel like now that we have hindsight, because R.I.P. Adam, he did. I'm kind of happy about that. I'm one of those people that's happy about it. I know a lot of people aren't, but we can go and look back and realize, oh, right. Yeah. I if anything, I feel like this is partially due to just being in the fandom since the very beginning. And when the Black trailer was introduced, people loved Adam's fighting style. People loved his look. His look was just the proper amount of edge.
Right, because it was simple, but then it had the edge thrown in there. Yeah.
And we made fun of his voice acting. We made fun of the, I'll set the charges. What about them? What about them?
Yeah.
When he showed up at the end of Volume 2... Remember, that was actually the first time he showed up on screen outside the trailers, and he goes, no, but they'll listen to me. We were like, okay, cool. All right, that's interesting. Once he showed up again, bring them to their knees. And then he goes and does his, hello, my darling. There was this little moment where I remember the fandom went, huh? Yeah. There's edge that he had in his design.
And then there's rapey,
Then there's this really gross level that he was basically thrown to. And I, at that point, basically was like, yeah, I'm done with you. You're maybe threatening, you're maybe terrifying as a threat, but you are a joke of a one-note disgusting character.
Right. And then it was just something of it's going to feel so good when he gets that sword shoved right up there.
Right. So I kind of looked at him constantly as a comeuppance character that would be utilized to essentially develop Blake as a character.
Right. Yep.
So it is about setting expectations and stuff. Yeah.
Headcanons are fine. You just need to make sure that the recoil doesn't damage your neck, because that can happen, right?
Yes, totally. Oh yeah, there's been tons of headcanons and stuff. I know I shouldn't talk or laugh about it, but when you talked about perception reality, I thought about, okay. And now you think that now if Emerald and Mercury now fall under Hazel's, they would begin to drift away from Cinder in terms of influence?
Okay, I am.
Wait a minute, these are two
Uncle,
different. Okay, hold on. These are two different people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I am all for Uncle Hazel. Uncle Hazel is awesome, and like the minimalist approach is fantastic, because then everything he says, I'm just like, yes, it's so good, right? Yes, I believe there will be a bit of a split and drift away from Cinder, because maybe not as far as Emerald is concerned, but certainly as far as Mercury is concerned, he has no ties to Cinder specifically. Like, not really.
Yep.
So I think him and Hazel will get along just great. There will be the issues, though, of Emerald actually having loyalty to Cinder, though. So
yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, hey, Riciendo, thank you so much for the follow. Glad to have you here. Awesome. Yeah, there were people attacking Aaron. They were attacking there's a lot of things that I do my best to kind of distance myself with the fandom as a whole.
Yeah.
As Jacob and I'll just keep on plugging along and doing our thing and stuff, and I don't really get involved in those. Even those discussions.
Have I told you about that?
Oh my gosh, Jacob. These dudes gets it. Adam has been a device for Blake's advancement since his real character introduction, Volume 3. Yep. Yep. And that's okay. Like, think back to how many characters have been advancements for other people's characters in RWBY. Like, there's been plenty of them. Like, and it's not all of them have been actually specifically for certain characters, but you can think back to probably some of the best conversations in early Volume 1 with regards to the melodrama and stuff. The whole introduction of Sun was to bring up actually the whole conversation between Weiss and Blake regarding Weiss's kind of, a little bit of internalized racism and why she didn't like the Faunus due to what she dealt with her family. And then that ended up being a springboard for both Weiss and Blake's development.
Exactly, and it was fantastic.
You even had Professor Port. He was actually utilized as a character specifically to give Weiss a good talking to about, like, hey, listen, take the hand you're dealt and run with it. Make the most of it. Like, you're essentially whining and complaining over something that you can't change. There are plenty of moments where writers will do that because the character is there to build the world and flesh it out, absolutely. But also, their actual actions in the story might be just localized for at least the most part to help another character develop that they want to spend more time on.
Right. Yeah. And that ties in really good to this comment here from Mesker 1. Adam is a mediocre character. People loved him for his potential, his power, the mystery, but by his death, I just felt that's it. What scares me is that the hype of what could be with other characters, Cinder, Neo, etc., could go the same way. Fingers crossed that I'm wrong.
Right. And I'm totally in that camp with Cinder. I was one of the people that when Cinder was kind of bouncing back after Volume 3's whole episode with her, and she had to like get her voice back and everything.
Really speak, and
I was so in love with that. Again, they didn't really do as much with it as they could.
Right, they had her just get over it.
There's a lot of things that they didn't really go into as much, but they did utilize that as a way to actually give her a cohesive motivation with regards to getting revenge on RWBY. And that was a good, I would say, thing to do. They didn't handle it the best, but at least they gave that to her.
Right.
But yes, Cinder is another example of a character where if they had killed her this volume or in the previous volume with the whole Haven thing and Raven and the pit and everything like that, I would have been like, okay, that's it. I was wrong in my potential thing, and that's okay.
And the reason why I don't have the same concerns from Neo is that
we understand Neo's role.
Yeah, Neo's role is not to be a focused character. Like, she can't speak, and they're not trying to give the silent voice treatment. That would be awesome if they did, but that'd be for another story, right?
Yeah.
So anything that we do get from Neo, in my mind, is just cheddar. It's gravy on top of what was already there.
Right.
But they don't need to.
Yep. Oh, as someone who only started watching RWBY last year and binged the whole series at that point, Adam never seemed like anything more than a tier 2 villain to me.
I thought he was tier 3, but yeah.
yeah,
cool.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, tier 1 is reserved specifically for Roman.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, man. That's right. Keep these up, bros. Been watching for a while now. Love your guys' content. Oh, thanks, Yang. Appreciate it. Yang served exceptionally well as a villain, though. We are not supposed to cheer for true villains, but hate them. Adam did exceptionally well to be hated, better than anyone else in this show. That's true. He was the most hated character, and little Shitley came just and kind of peaked for a little bit, but then he went back down pretty quickly.
Although I get the feeling
if I would cheer for a villain, not
7.
antagonist, but villain, then the writing would be backwards. You can enjoy how evil a villain is, but the main point is that Adam was brilliant in being hated. I mean,
sure, but there's a big difference between villain and antagonist, and generally I tend to prefer antagonists over villains.
And I would say a lot of what makes a villain is not as clear, I would say, to a lot of people.
Yeah, but Adam definitely played his part very well.
Yeah, an antagonist is all basically spelled out in the word antagonist.
Right.
But a villain...
Yeah,
that's...
you can do a lot of different things with a villain.
Yeah, exactly. You know what has wasted potential? Grimzilla, or perhaps Disappointzilla.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why Weiss should have defeated it, because then it could have redeemed itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's one thing here. This thing with this massive breath attack and everything, and it's a crazy thing like that. If you think that's like the only like big Grim we're gonna see, like kind of how Kevin was the only dragon like we're gonna see. No, immediately in Volume 4 we saw a sea dragon or sea serpent, if you will.
And
there's no
I personally
end to
prefer that they had done something different, more along the lines of a Leviathan, maybe for the big name Volume 4. Whatever, not that important.
Sure. Yeah.
You think Neo might know sign language? That would be amazing.
That would be great. I haven't watched, but was Adam love to hate or just hate?
I think hate.
I think for us he was just hate.
For some people,
it was love to hate.
Yeah.
Yes, it was more mixed than that. It's possible to give him the short to Adam too, because we see him not being bad there, and how it was pushed to by the White Fang to be. Like he ended up. Sure. We, in fact, actually, like we're gonna be done talking about Adam here. I would highly recommend once our reaction comes out, leave some comments with your thoughts regarding the whole Adam situation in that video, because Jacob and I go a bit in depth in there, specifically with the Adam short and why it was chosen.
Right.
As a thing to have before this volume,
because especially since Adam wasn't actually like visibly present for this volume.
A lot of the volume. Yes.
It's that really did help play its part in making sure that the ending felt satisfying, even though some people were still disappointed.
Oh, see ya, Wolfcats.
Yeah, see ya.
See you on Discord, yeah. I saw a good post on either Twitter or Tumblr about this. Adam is terrifying as a villain because there's so many real-life Adams out there.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the most unfortunately relatable villains in the show because some of us know someone just like him. I think people who idolize or call him wasted potential don't understand just how evil Adams really are. Yeah, I think that's why he was so over the top.
And his ending was very poetic and satisfying. Like, it wasn't quite Torchwick levels, but it was pretty close.
Yeah, it was pretty close, yeah. RWBY should have dropped a road roller on top of the Grim before time resumed. God, Mesker, I love you. Thank you so much for that comment. That just kind of made this whole stream here. That was amazing.
I mean, like, and we talk about that in our reaction. We're like,
since we have confirmation of Salem shaping Grim, do you think Kevin and the Sea Serpent were Salem making mockeries of the gods? Oh.
Okay, I love that as an idea.
As an idea,
I don't see how they would be mockeries of the gods because they don't.
The dragon forms of the gods.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, they had two different dragon forms. Yeah,
that's right.
I think that what it might be is that Salem spent more time on certain Grim than others. And also, I think Salem might be running one of those mobile farming apps on her whole area there, where she keeps tapping her ooze pits, but she has certain ooze pits that are preset to just spawn Beowulfs or Nevermores.
Well, she has, what are the tentacle ones called? What's Tentacle Grim called? What's his name?
Oh, we have a name for him? RWBY or
something like that.
Yeah, we gave a name for him. The fandom gave a name for him. The Palantir Grim, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But those probably just go around and help press the buttons for her, on all the non-important ones.
Yes. I love those dumb theories like that.
5 seconds have passed. Literally, there's a part of me that wants to go back and check to see if the amount of time that was stopped when Jin did the thing was like 9 seconds or something like that.
Right. But I think in order for those bigger Grim to be made, she has to essentially pull out a base template Grim and just start mucking with it, if you will. Yeah. And as she mucks with it, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes thought, and also there's the parts where the Grim themselves have to be given some probable part of, I would say, and this is probably the one thing that would make Salem's power to have limits, is that the reason why she doesn't spawn an endless number of these Grim is because she is actually giving them some small part of her power, because the Grim Dragon, Kevin as he's now called by the called by the fandom for many years now, he would drop globules of things that would create mini temporary Grim puddles.
Pretty sweet.
It's pretty
really,
legit.
If she wanted to do that, she should have just not had Kevin leave and go somewhere else and just built a few Kevins and then had them all just, speed up production, build multiple barracks.
Exactly. But Salem, Hazel, send me a virtual Grim sheep on this app.
And Hazel would just be like, yes, ma'am.
Whatever you say, Oh, damn, I didn't do my dailies. Hey, Mercury, I have a friend referral code. No. I can give you one and you'll get a free loot chest.
But Hazel's the person that's like, I'm very old. I've been playing this game for a long time. Salem's the only person that's been playing it longer than me.
Yes! Why did we have to get the RWBY game that we got? Why couldn't we have gotten like some goofy game where they made fun of it and had it be like a Salem, you're Salem, and you're making ooze pits and stuff to make your Grim thing, and you take over Remnant.
Okay, no, actually, serious time though. They could make a game like that, but then have little story elements in there with like a silly twist, because it would almost be like Chibi, where like Salem would be this little Chibi character. It would just be like, yes, let's make more Grim.
Hey, I rescind all rights to this idea. I rescind like all things. RWBY, if any of you are there, or if any of you here that have connections to anyone in RWBY, pass this idea along. It'll at least make them laugh. Like I totally think it has potential. It has a lot of potential. And you can have multiple RWBY apps. You don't have to have just one, Like
that's right.
The other one is essentially, run by another company entirely, basically. So there you go. Oh, also Salem looking upset at the flying monkey Grim looking hurt and then having a genuine smile. Thoughts on that? Oh, I don't know.
I didn't catch that.
You're saying that there might be some form of empathy, some kind of emotional connection to the Grim.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Mother of Grim? Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
If Salem doesn't say the words fly my pretties, fly. I'll consider this whole show a bust. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you.
Yes. That's, oh my god.
Salem,
how does she say it?
Salem slaps the muck pool. This bad boy can fit so many Grim in it.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Can Grim grow exponentially, creating more dark pools, or Grim self-replicating, or is it just a constant rate? I think it's probably constant, but it's not important enough for them to explain it.
The real question is, could Salem create a Grim that can create bigger Grim?
No, probably not.
Because if that's the case, then Grim singularity.
The Grim will eventually. Salem equals Kerrigan. Salem is a hodgepodge of a lot of different dark
Queen,
dark
Kerrigan,
it's tropes. It's very similar to a lot of them, but thankfully she is not really a direct carbon copy of any of them, with how her human persona transforming into this was,
which is a little bit unfortunate.
A little bit.
Do you guys think Ironwood will lose it when he sees Salem actually coming to attack him? No.
What
I would ideally like to see and this is maybe just like, again, my headcanon, is just a little smile as he finally gets to basically say, fire everything, unleash hell, you know. And then just all the defenses, like, he's the RTS player that's been like, oh, I've been building this base for a long time, waiting for when this day would come.
Oh my
Go!
gosh.
And just...
Right. Flying Harambe's. Oh my god, yes. Salem needs to learn about PR management. She gotta get with the times. Seriously,
Yep.
seriously.
She needs to have all those tentacle grim basically just like... What?
Tyrion would definitely be a devoted player in town of Salem. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically. He would definitely, he'd be one of the whales that just uses, like, buys things all the time.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, it's like that D&D horror story where the DM made an NPC that could summon more of itself. Wait. Lyriat, pass that story along to us in Discord. I'm curious about that.
I know that those are things that exist, but usually there's, like, a thing of, like, this creature cannot summon more, you know, creatures.
I don't know what I effing called it.
Fire at will, Commander.
Yeah, it would be fun though to get. I know some people are pretty salty about this movie, but we could get a Last Jedi moment. Spoiler alert. Where all the AT-ATs, essentially all the Atlas airships, fire at Luke Skywalker, essentially, but Salem.
Yeah.
And Salem just kind of takes it.
Sure.
She just takes it. And maybe she's pulverized. Maybe she's... and then she just kind of, like, gets back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, has some, like telepathic, like, crazy psionic scream or something like that. And suddenly, like, the minds of the people there go nuts. I just want to see her unleash her power to the point where she's like, okay, my original plan was divide them, keep them all there. But no, Atlas, you've consolidated enough military strength for the world as a whole that if I destroyed you, I would knock out this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. Okay, I don't need to divide you anymore. You've isolated yourself. You're divided enough already. I will now eliminate you as a threat in one go. There you go.
Can't wait to see Oscar Force pull himself through the sky back to one of the airships.
Oh, no.
That would be amazing. But also, okay, what the other way that I would love to see it is not just the Last Jedi type deal, but for any of you that have seen Madoka Magica, Homura's fight with a certain thing, and basically it being something where it's like, I see you're a super evil eldritch being entity. That's fine. I came prepared.
I have a lot of weapons.
Yeah, and then it's just basically showing like the early stuff of Ironwood being like, go, do it. Didn't work. I thought not. Do the next one, you know? And then it scales up to something bigger. It's like, impressive. Again, you know? And then the pennies come flying in and just, you know? It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Oh my gosh. That would be funny. Wait. Oh, we'll do. It's a hilarious third post. Okay, thank you, Lyriat. I hope Atlas has AA batteries of a serious caliber. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We actually theorized this. This is really funny that it ends up being even more so accurate. Was Jacob and I theorized that the way Atlas was structured is they probably put the biggest anti-air stuff all around the perimeter of the island. But the thing is
they
that
can do it over a smaller area.
Now they can do it over a smaller area, like a ridiculously smaller area, to the point where it's kind of a mini floating half Death Star.
Oh yeah,
with no super laser cannon.
Right. Exactly. Well, we don't know.
No super laser cannon.
It could be.
No, there's not going to be.
I mean,
I'm just calling it right here. There's gonna be a slap bet, Jacob. Like, I'm just gonna say, there's no super laser cannon.
No. The actual discovery is that Ironwood's like, see, the thing is, okay, dust is great.
Oh my god.
But since dust doesn't work in space, and this is based on Gurren Lagann, I went into actually scientific development as well as part of Atlas. So we have developed nukes. And then it just comes a point where it's like, yes, even the pennies aren't effective. Drop it.
Jeez. I love that this discussion has turned into basically like a silly aspect of, you know, commenting, giving meta commentary on a show that isn't even, you know, we're not even talking about the season of the show that's out yet.
Ironwood seems like the type of dude to put a super cannon on his floating island.
I think this is okay. Here's another thing, Jacob. I just gotta say, this is something that I love your theories and I entertain them, but I think Ironwood might be to you what Adam was to a lot of other people.
Yes, I could definitely see that happen.
You have built up Ironwood to be way bigger, I think, than he probably is.
Possibly.
Like, Ironwood could die next volume. And I think in some ways, I think Watts could specifically kill Ironwood in like maybe 1 or 2 volumes.
But the thing is, if that were to happen, I feel like that would maybe be the wrong way of going about it, because Atlas would definitely be worse off without Ironwood, right? But the thing is that...
What does that have to do with anything, though?
Well, no. But the thing is, I think the way Watts would be more effective is not by actually, like, performing assassinations and stuff, but by just changing the direction of Atlas.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yes, the fact that Jacob admits it means that he's not the same as a lot of the Atom people. That's very true.
That's a great point.
Yep.
Yeah.
You linked the story in here. Oh, okay, cool. Well, we'll check that out at some point.
By the way, totally unrelated, but Battle Lines as a story was made because it was basically like, okay, what would be my ideal fan fiction for myself story? So I'm just saying, if what I've been talking about seems interesting, then maybe you should check it out because I write about the things that I get excited about. So
Yep.
So I'm not saying that the whole Ironwood theories and all that stuff is like what happens in there.
Right.
but if you want to see a story that came out of that same deranged mind,
then go check it out. Yeah, Kickstarter, Battle Lines.
Just search Battle Lines on Kickstarter, you'll find it easy.
Yeah, you'll find it, yep.
Yeah.
If you cut those massive ropes chaining Atlas to the ground, would it float into the sky like a balloon? Possibly.
I mean, then it's Laputa, and Laputa did have a big laser.
Dang it, you're right.
Just saying.
Dang it, you're right.
Just saying, you know.
Yeah. You good. Oh, man. Yeah, Will of Ironwood, we have seen more of how he behaves. That's true.
Yep.
And he had probably one of the best scenes in Volume 4.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
She's the only one making sense around here.
I mean, there's a reason.
The gun and walks out like a badass.
There's a reason that Iron Daddy was taken up as a nickname.
Oh yes, he is Iron Daddy. Bless him.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh. I think that somewhere in the season it can be possible that the things keeping Atlas attached will snap and Atlas will float off till it reaches a point that dust doesn't work and come crashing down.
Maybe that's part of the point. Dang. You build up that potential energy, right, until the dust stops working, and then it falls back down on Salem, immobilized at the center.
Then it becomes an ELE, and the world is essentially plunged into, like, 150 years of darkness from the dust getting kicked up. Not the actual, like, earth dust, but like that and the other dust. So
basically Ironwood is like, okay, so apparently there's the whole thing of like the gods and stuff, and he doesn't actually know about this because he wasn't there with the Jinn thing and all that stuff, but if he did, he's like, okay, so the gods are going to destroy the world of Salem if humanity isn't united and stuff, but
if I destroy the world first,
I'll beat them to it.
Oh my god. So dumb.
Salem can't win if there's no humanity.
He holds the world hostage against Salem.
He's like, Salem, you will live an eternity of aloneness and awfulness, and you will be bored out of your mind, but you won't be able to die. So,
Wooden Targus trying to help with the shilling here. Boy, this Battle Lines book sounds interesting. Does it have interstellar action and romance with twists and turns around?
Abound? Yes, absolutely.
Yes, of course. Shameless self-plug. So I take it Battle Lines doesn't have the message type of moment. Oh!
Well, I suppose that is for you to decide. But...
Right. But the only way you can know is if you pre-order it by,
Exactly, yeah.
Battle Lines is coming in March, right?
No, it's when it should be all ready to get to you guys is in April, because there's still stuff that needs to be done with the printing company of like making sure that the quality of like the physical actual books and stuff is all good.
And shipping can sometimes take a while. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that I pretty much had to go, of course it is a flying city, because Atlas mythologically holds up the heavens.
Yep. That. Mm-hmm.
Iron
Daddy, that's so wrong. Or is it so right?
Is it so right? Yes, literally Ultron. Yep, with the Avengers 2. Yep. Ironwood equals Gamagori when you think about it. Oh. I mean, but he doesn't yell, actually. He's actually pretty soft-spoken.
So then if that's the case, who's Mako?
There you go. Yo, I need to play that RWBY card game you guys made for RTX. Actually, that's a good thing we can bring up here. So, y'all, we have been working on the RWBY card game. It's kind of stalled a little bit out there because when I went and talked to RWBY people at RTX and stuff, I was basically blown off, not really taken seriously. They looked at the game and stuff. I got to play it with someone that it was basically an example of, there was a guy who, sorry, I'm hijacking the conversation here for just a little bit here. There was a guy who was a part of RWBY's game development team. And I had been hounding him and kind of annoying him a little bit, just to be like, hey, I want to show you the game, because he said, yeah, if you have a good printable thing, because I went to visit Rooster Teeth, and I was like, I have a game. He's like, well, you didn't bring it with you. I'm like, well, yeah, I have it, but I can explain it to you. He's like, I need to see it. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, are you going to be at RTX? He's like, yeah, I'm at RTX. I'm like, I'll bring it to you. And he's like, okay, then bring it to me and we'll play it there. I'm like, awesome. I brought it there and he wouldn't play it with me.
He didn't actually think, it's like, oh, dang it, he actually did it.
He's like, dang it, he actually came. Oh, yeah. Oh crap. Fine. So then he had this other guy who he respected his opinion of, a pretty good kind of board game player and stuff like that, play the game with him watching. And he was basically like tuning out, looking at his phone, not really paying attention as I was explaining the game as it went. But I talked about a specific mechanic in the game, and it was this moment. It was pure bliss, guys. Imagine, like, picture it. I'm sitting there explaining this game to the guy, and the guy's like, looking at his phone, like not paying attention. And then I mentioned this mechanic in the game, and he just kind of goes, "Wait, say that again." Yeah. Like he puts his phone down. And he goes, "Wait, say that again." Like tell me about that amazing thing there. Like he said one word of me describing the mechanic, and he was like, Wait, hold on. Like, go into that a little bit. And then he just kind of sat there and he gave his, like, I'm intently listening face. And he goes, And he didn't really say anything else other than that. He just went, okay. Like, all right. And once that was done, you know, I was just like, all right, well, cool. That's the game. And, you know, the guy who played it actually gave some really legitimately good feedback. Yep. He was like, you know, he's like, these things are the things that it does well. These couple things are the problems. Here's how I would handle it. I would say,
and it was very like usable advice.
Yeah, it was great stuff there. But the game itself will probably never happen in a RWBY context because they didn't. Like, he didn't really like the game. Like,
it's the thing of they apparently, like, they're doing so much stuff with RWBY that it's just...
Right, they have so much RWBY stuff in development already that they were like, yeah, we are not, like, looking at really anything along this lines here. But hey, you know, good for you. Like, he's like, make the game under your own IP or whatever, and then it'll be cool. So the game will probably still happen at some point. It's just a question of, you know, what will it look like differently in that sense there. But I can still bring it to RTX, which, by the way, we are going to RTX. I don't think we've actually announced that yet.
I don't think we have.
I think we mentioned it a little bit past RTX that we had a lot of fun and we'd probably want to go again.
But yeah, we're going to
RTX 2019. So if anyone didn't know that, like, by the way, August, I think? July. It's at like exactly the same time as Anime Expo, which is like, that sucks.
Like, yeah, it's like,
you wanted to go to that. Yeah.
Well, but also like, I wonder if that's going to affect how many people end up going to RTX.
That might have been actually an important thing that they did. You know, they're trying to make sure that the demand isn't too high.
I mean, they handled it amazingly last year.
They did like, a great job. Yeah, comparatively to other conventions where that get up that high, it can get really crazy and chaotic.
Yeah.
So,
Mako is Nora.
Yeah. Have you seen how Nora teleports all over the place? That's funny. Yep. Okay, so I'm done with my little board game thing there. But
Make it a Battle Lines game.
RTX. I'll totally play it with you guys there if you come to say hi with us and hang out. That'd be really fun. Tell him that you're endorsed by Barbara and he should listen up. Oh my gosh, marketing guys are dicks. This guy wasn't a marketing guy, and I don't think he was being really a dick. I think he was just properly setting expectations that there was nothing really that I had that he was really interested in listening to.
And it wasn't, and it didn't depend at all on what the stuff was. It's just,
yeah. It's just like, you know, okay. Well, assistant, hand me my pen and notepad. Stat. Yeah. Watch them steal whatever the idea was for Combat Ready. No, Combat Ready's already out.
Yeah,
Combat Ready is done.
Totally different.
Like, if anything was really interesting, there was a Twitter bit. Now we're talking back on this conversation again. I tweeted out a bunch that I had an idea for a RWBY board game, and I was bummed out when they announced Combat Ready that I was like, oh, I guess I'm too late, because they were developing this board game probably for a year before that. So if I had said something, maybe someone would have listened. But the RWBY Combat Ready thing is a co-op game. Actually, we're wearing the shirts that I got for kickstarting the actual game, RWBY Combat Ready, and it's a fun team cooperative game.
Adam is OP, though.
Adam is OP, actually,
it's
in the
stupid.
game.
It's stupid.
Like Cinder is harder, but not by that much.
Yeah, it's like it's just
yeah. But anyway, make it a Battle Lines game.
Yeah, I mean,
but then I probably wouldn't have any like creative license, like control over the game.
I mean, yeah, but I could.
I mean, I know, but then yeah. All right, guys, got to go to the gym. Can't wait for the next few reactions for RWBY. And I don't know if you mentioned it, but are you guys going to watch Genlock and Screwed? I'm down to play the game regardless. Oh, thanks, man.
I mean, we should, even if we're not reacting to it,
we're not going to react to Genlock, but we will totally watch it, and we can talk about it on Discord or something like that. Oh, looking forward to seeing you guys again. And Frosted, raining down in the river town. Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
thank you.
Yeah,
great to see
happy to see more people at RTX. That'll be awesome. God, that sounds like an EA title. That's funny, Golden Witch. Yeah, that would be funny. Okay, I wrote that marketing guy comment at the beginning of your story, so it sounded like one of those things at that point. Yeah, totally. I don't know exactly what he was, except maybe one of the people that would actually have the authority to greenlight another game.
Yeah, or at least like get it into the works.
Get it into the works and moving and stuff. Oh, I meant for a future expansion. I actually already have played Combat Ready a few times.
But it also was a joke. Could kind of do that, but yeah.
Yeah, the multiplayer aspect of Combat Ready needs some.
It would need to be
the multiplayer versus thing could work, but they would need to be a slightly different style. Yeah. Do you guys have to study to make the tabletop? Like, is there such a thing as tabletop game design theory? I'm sure there is. There's probably a lot of people that would be able to teach tabletop game design theory.
Yeah, probably.
Because D&D and Pathfinder, they've been around for a long time.
And even if you're not like talking like tabletop RPGs, but just like tabletop games.
Yeah.
Like there's a show called Tabletop that got canceled because I think it ended up kind of going downhill a little bit later on, but
that was more of an entertainment thing, less than an educational thing.
But it like basically just play lots of games.
Play lots of games, lots of different types of like board games, essentially.
And if you don't have people that can play games with you, then something like that might be a good way to supplement it.
Yeah. If you don't know what our game is, apparently there's a game that's very similar to it called
the something Sentinels of the Multiverse.
It's a game that made people go, wait, this is like a more team-based version of Sentinels of the Multiverse, but if Sentinels of the Multiverse was truly versus multiplayer. And I'm like, I've never even played that game, so interesting. Final thing I think we'll say about the RWBY whole thing here is if you're still here and you're a big fan of RWBY, but you're more, I would say, a fan of the trivia aspect and kind of the lore, the details of this. Those of you that don't know, I've run 2 RWBY trivia tournaments so far, and they were pretty fun. They were pretty intense. There are 2 videos I think out there that that showcase this. I'm pretty sure I have uploaded them both to YouTube, but they're called the RWBY Vital Knowledge Tournament. And I run this for people that are interested in winning like legit like rewards and stuff. I think I've been giving away Rooster Teeth gift cards. And basically, if you're placed into the top 4, you get into a video with me and the other contestants, and you compete for this there. I'm going to be doing another one before RTX. I'm probably going to be announcing the details in, I would say, a couple months or so. I would say probably a couple months. And then I will have a sign-up sheet where people can say that they're interested in getting involved. And then I will then start testing people on a 1-by-1 basis and going through that. Sweet. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. But if you're interested in that, get hyped and stay tuned for announcements for that probably in the next month or so. So yeah. That's
pretty cool.
But thank you so much for hanging out on Twitch, hanging out, watching the stream and stuff.
Make sure to hang out with us again tomorrow for the Berserk stream, and then there's Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Right, so we have podcasts Mondays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk and engage with you guys. It's a really good way for us to interact with you all about specific story things, specific story in shows or what have you. Tuesday tomorrow, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is the Berserk manga stream.
Yep.
Really good us going through the Berserk manga blind. It's a
crazy.
trip. It's a crazy trip. So there's that. Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have started a new co-op RPG game for Divinity Original Sin 2. Now, that game sounds like that title sounds like a mouthful here, but this is probably one of the most complex, genius top-down RPGs
it is so much
I've ever
fun.
seen.
Like the first time we played, and we're not going to be doing this as a regular thing.
We got so sucked into it.
We got so sucked into it. It started at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right? We ended up playing for 7 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like we just lost track of time. It was so immersive.
Yeah. Then with Friday, I'm doing The Witcher 3. I'm playing The Witcher 3 solo, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time as well. I'm going through that. It's been a lot of fun. Probably coming up there as being one of my favorite RPGs of all time. Like just in the, I would say 8 to 9 hours I've played the game so far. Really good stuff. But yeah, that's our Twitch schedule. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel if you somehow stumbled across us here and you don't know about our YouTube channel, Semblance of Sanity on YouTube. We do all kinds of reactions, reviews, discussions, and the like there. So check that out. Yeah. If you are a Twitch subscriber, you have Twitch Prime on us as well. You also get access to our Discord, our private Discord. Just make sure to sync up your Twitch and Discord accounts up. And then there's an actual link in the subscriber room here on our channel. So you can get into that as well. But yeah, thank you all so much for hanging out. Wait, yeah. Yeah, you're going to be playing Witcher for a long time, friendo. Oh, I can't wait. I
was there for like 95% of the Divinity Original Sin 2 stream. It was something Bible thump.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The actual trivia stuff is just stuff that happens in the show, like the show itself, and RWBY Chibi. That's it. Nothing behind the scenes, nothing outside of it there. Carolus V, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub.
Yeah, thank you.
That's why we mentioned that, just so you all know about the benefits of that, because we still haven't gotten a perfect handle on Twitch and everything yet. Also thank you for the follow. Glad to have you here. Thanks for the RWBY stream. It was a great discussion. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
forgot about the podcast, but I made it just in time, right? Sorry, Peps too is like just at the last second there. So y'all, we'll see you all tomorrow. Yeah, if you're there. But yeah, until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.